Hello Internet people. Well, today we're cooking medieval. As promised in yesterday's sauerkraut video, I said I was going to cook something with it. So yeah, we're going to do a little something today, kind of a northern European pork and sauerkraut and apples, a few other things. Basically it's not that difficult. It's the kind of thing that you do if you're a peasant in the fall and you had access to some pork. And of course you'd have access to sauerkraut and apples. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Dutch oven here and we're going to stick some sauerkraut in that. I don't have access to 14th century iron cooking pot. Kind of the closest thing that we can get here in the modern era is a Dutch oven. If you were a super rich guy and you're in the right culture, you might have access to cast iron, but if not, you'd probably be cooking in a clay pot. So you could do this in a bean pot if you wanted. I think I got it. Yeah, there's a bean pot right there, so you could definitely do it in that, and it would turn out just as good, maybe even better. Maybe we'll try that sometime. So we're going to get a bunch of sauerkraut in here, and I'd say that that is just about enough. And if you were a medieval housewife, of course, you'd be taking this out of a barrel or some other kind of container, not a mason jar. Mason jar is what I'm going to use. So if you are using cast iron, sauerkraut's acidic, so it's going to eat up your seasoning. So make sure it's seasoned really, really well. But you could also do it in like an enamel one, and you wouldn't have to worry. A lot of people say you shouldn't cook tomatoes in these either, but it's not a problem if you're medieval because you don't have tomatoes. So I got some sauerkraut in there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a couple juniper berries. And I kind of hate these, but I don't know. I guess that's what they did because they didn't necessarily have the best of spices. We're gonna crush those up in our mortar and pestle here. So I don't like juniper berries. They kind of make everything taste like floor cleaner. But I don't know, if you're gonna eat medieval stuff, sometimes it's gonna taste like floor cleaner, I guess. So I've been told by old guys that still make this kind of thing today in the German community that it's actually pretty good. So I don't know, I put 5 or 6 in there. I don't know how many you're supposed to put in, but I put some in. So juniper berries, I don't know if you live in Canada, I wouldn't go out and pick juniper because it's probably poisonous, but if you're in Canada you can get this from a place called the Silk Road. I don't know. It's not like they sponsor me or anything, I just use it. So that's where I buy it from. Next, pork. So I just used a bunch of cube pork that I bought from a woman that lives not too far from here. It's a Mangalitsa pig, which is like a Hungarian breed, 19th century. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up some apples and put in this. If you were a medieval person, your apples would be much smaller than this, and you'd put in as many as you wanted. Like these are Macintosh apples, which are not very good for cooking. In the 18th and 19th century we made all kinds of apple breeds because we like the taste of them, and apparently if you have one a day it keeps the doctor away or something. But in the medieval era they would not have been this big and fat and tasty. They'd have looked more like the kind of apples you get from a farm that's overgrown in weeds and hasn't been seen to in years. So all I'm going to do is chop these up into some pieces here. This doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to throw that in. And these apples are probably going to cook down to mush. So if you want them to be a little more chunky, don't put your apples in right away. Put them in towards the end. But I'm gonna cook them the whole time, just to see what I get. Probably gonna get applesauce that tastes like floor cleaner with sauerkraut and pork, but guess we'll see. So, I don't know, one apple might be enough, but if one's enough, two is better. And if two is better, well, three will probably make you sick. Depends how much you're eating and how many you're feeding. And I don't have any fancy way of doing this. I don't know, I just kind of quarter them and take the middles out and chop them up. If you're like a fancy chef or something, you might peel these. I'm not a fancy chef. I am a Llwyd, and I make stuff in my Dutch oven that I want to experiment with and see what it tastes like. So anyway, once we get our two apples in there, that's kind of all there is to that. Now we just add heat until done. Probably put the lid on this, and I'm going to cook it on the stove top, but you could also put it in the oven. Might actually do a better job in the oven, but this would probably be cooked over a fire in medieval times. Probably not going to be cooked in a bread oven or anything. So I'm going to put it on my stove top because it's 8 o'clock at night. I don't feel like going outside and lighting a fire. I've always got some kind of excuse not to be cooking on a fire when I do these medieval recipe videos. But there you have it. You live in 2021, you just sort of get by. You do the best you can with this medieval cookery. So let's put this on the stove and cook it down and see what we come up with. So here we are with the finished product. An old German guy I know says that sauerkraut should be cooked for 5 hours. I didn't do that. I just cooked it until it's done. As predicted, the apples kind of turned into mush, kind of turned into applesauce. Whether that would have happened with the original medieval recipe or not, well, probably would, but hard to say, maybe not. Like I say, if you want them chunky, throw them in at the end. Pork is fantastic. My God, that's good. And the apple really takes the sting out of the sauerkraut. I'm really surprised. Not really getting much of the juniper berries. I put quite a few in, I thought. But then my sense of taste isn't that great. So I'm pleasantly surprised. This does not taste like floor cleaner. This is actually really, really pleasant. So I'm not a master at spices or anything. So I don't know what those juniper berries are up to in there, but man, oh man, apples and sauerkraut is some good. Yeah. I see a little bit of black stuff, so I'm definitely getting some juniper in there. Maybe that's got a bunch in it. It's just really good. I am so very surprised. I'm going to get another piece of that pork in me. That is good stuff. Man, oh man, for such a simple recipe. I mean, I've been into medieval feasts and stuff, and people spend all this time in the kitchen making all this fancy stuff, and I don't know, for my money, this is way better than that. You know, this is the kind of stuff that you know, a lower middle class, even a peasant might eat, and this is just fantastic. I can't recommend this enough. Get yourself some sauerkraut, get yourself some cubed up pork, and some apples. I don't know if the juniper berries do anything, but if you can get those, throw those into. Let this cook for 30 minutes on the stovetop or on a fire. This is, you know, this is a 9 out of 10. This, you know, I might be biased because I kind of like this stuff, but it's good stuff. So, anyway, I'm going to probably have a second helping of this. But anyway, if you like the channel, like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff. YouTube took away the dislike button, so you can't dislike me anymore. But if you do dislike me, share me with your enemies, and I will punish them for free.